Welcome to another episode of the Theater Podcast, intimate personal conversations with theater's biggest talents. I'm your host, Alan Seals, and as always, you can find us online at theater_podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and on the web at thetheaterpodcast.com, or even on Facebook /Official Theater Podcast. Jillian Hockman sitting with me here again during our reflection section.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm okay. Actually, I'm good. That's a lie. I'm better than okay.
You're doing great.
I'm doing great today. We're about to release Beth Leavel's episode, and we interviewed her recently. She's now the second person we've interviewed that has a Broadway resume that is almost as long as, or longer than I've been alive. Yeah. Nancy Opel being the first. These wonderful, wonderful women who have just been in the business for decades, literally. And it was very interesting to me how both of them mentioned how the business side of things has changed. And even though it doesn't much relate directly to their acting, singing, dancing talent, with all other things being equal when you're trying to cast two people, their social media influence plays a huge part of that.
Yeah, that changes everything now. And the amount of exposure you already have and how much talent you have in relation to your relationship with the internet seems to really make a difference.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder how the industry is going to change in another decade or two as the kids of yesterday become the producers of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they are expecting that, oh, this great lead over here, she or he must have 100,000 followers. I don't want to see anyone like the character breakdown. It's going to be tall, leading person type of genre, must have 50,000 Instagram followers. I hope we don't get to that. That sounds like some weird dystopian future that, it would be in some Tarantino movie or something.
I don't think we're ever going to get to that. I think it's going to play a factor into it, but I think if you have the talent and you're right for the part, that's really going to be what makes or breaks it.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're going to see. You're going to see somebody with great talent. You're not going to see someone with a ton of Instagram followers.
But at the same time, that's always been a thing. People have always put celebrities into shows because of their popularity. It's just now we have followers and it's much more easier to be an influencer. Whereas before it was you were on TV or you were in a movie and they threw you on a stage to sell tickets.
True.
It's similar, but now anybody can do it. Which is also kind of inspiring too of, well, yeah, I can do it myself.
You can do it yourself. You can get access to these people on YouTube. And then I don't want to go down a rat hole of how marketing is going to change too. But I'm sure it will. But anyway, we've been rambling along long enough here. Let's let our listeners get into this episode. Please enjoy our episode here with the one and only Beth Leavel.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Beth Leavel, thank you for talking with me today.
You're so welcome.
We've been chatting for a while beforehand, but through the magic of editing, we'll just begin here.
That's why we're giggling.
Yes. You made your Broadway.
Yes, go ahead.
You made your Broadway debut in the original 42nd Street.
Right.
And now currently starring as Dee Dee in the Prom, which is your magic 13, you were telling me? 13th.
It's my lucky, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. It's my lucky 13th. I'm just so proud of the show, and it happens to be number 13, and there's 13 Broadway debuts in it, and I swear Casey Nicola, our director, this is his 13th something, but I forgot, involved with this show. So I'm just feeling, our show's a big hit, and I think it's because it's the number lucky 13.
And you've got a Tony nomination for Baby It's You, and then you won a Tony for the Drowsy Chaperone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we'll get to all that. But I wanna rewind a little bit.
Go.
Rewind, you hear me?
Yeah, I did. When I get tired, it comes out to my Southern.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the word Raleigh, North Carolina on my notes, and I can't help because I'm from that area as well, which I've talked about several times on this podcast. Seems a lot of people are from the North Carolina area. North Carolina. Born in Raleigh, right?
Yes, yeah.
So tell me about that. What was your childhood like back then, and how did you get into theater in the first place?
Oh, it was simpler back in the day. I didn't get into theater. I didn't even know what musicals were, which I really didn't. No one in my family was musical. I think my mom sang in a choir at school. My grandfather kind of toyed around with the violin and sang at church in Greensboro, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. I didn't do my first musical until my senior year in high school in Raleigh, North Carolina at Broughton High School was a friend of mine, Jan Lee Herndon. Hi, Jan, who's still in the business as well, said, you should audition for this show because it's a great way to meet guys.
Did it work?
Yeah. But what was not really. What was so interesting about it was when I had no idea what auditioning was, and I went in and I actually got this third lead, the Bonnie Jean role in Brigadoon, which was a dance role, which is hysterical if you know my lack of technique in the dance department. And I remember the first day of rehearsal, because, in high school rehearsals last, 6 months or something?
It's forever. It's months, yeah.
For months and years before the show goes up. But I remember
you actually come in as a freshman and do
then
the show as a senior.
you graduate. That's
Yeah,
your reward. I just remember thinking, who are these people? And they're just like me. And how in the world can I remain in this oxygen? And I literally remember that light bulb kind of going off, in my soul, thinking, what have I missed? Well, what is happening? But I didn't, in Raleigh, North Carolina in the 70s and 80s, had no idea what to do with that curiosity. So I went to Meredith College in Raleigh and did every show I could get my hands on, but they only had a theater minor.
It's more than NC State
what
had.
Was it? What was
a
it?
Concentration is what I was available to me at NC State.
You sit over there and concentrate on theater.
Think really hard about it.
Really about theater and see what happens. And I have a degree in social work counseling, which came in really handy. And like I said, I did everything I could get my hands on, including an experimental show at NC State the year I graduated. Can't remember the name of it. Voices. Oh, it was very artsy. It was 6 women sitting around doing monologues forever. And I did at Raleigh Little Theater.
Yeah.
I just could not get enough of it. I couldn't get enough of it. And I had a mentor, dare I say an influencer, in my before they were called influencers, who really, really, her name was Linda Bamford. She really encouraged and pushed. And I was terrified at the thought of moving to New York. So I went and did the only honorable thing was to ask to go to school some more. So I went and have an MFA from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And then I moved after that.
Did, at NC State, or RLT, did you ever cross paths with Haskell Fitzsimmons?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that man.
Not enough.
Loved that man.
I know.
I did several shows with him.
His heart and reputation precede him. I heard he was a dear, dear, dear man.
Yeah. Yeah. He was there for decades.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed him, but I did.
Wonderful. And John McElwee at NC State. Do you know John?
I know the name.
He just retired. He just retired this last, a couple months ago.
Oh, my gosh.
He was there for decades too.
That's awesome.
I think they, sorry,
named
friends,
something
if
out
I'm
of him?
wrong. I think they renamed one of the halls after him.
Good.
So yeah, it was incredible. But
I have a plaque at Meredith.
Do you?
Yeah, it's a plaque of my head, my resume. So,
from the shows you've done at Meredith?
No, from one of my New York things. I was inducted into a Hall of Fame at Meredith, and there's a plaque with my face on it.
Oh, that's nice.
Very, very honored.
So what year was it then that you came up to New York?
The very end of 1981, the beginning of 1982, like November, December, something like that.
And then Broadway debut in 85.
Was it 85? Yes, right, because I was out with almost a year with the national tour of 42nd Street. And the role opened up, and they asked me, did I want to come in? And I was like the 4th replacement for Anytime Annie. Mm-hmm. And I stayed with it for like 4 years.
So you came up to New York and then left New York to go on tour for 4 years?
That's what we do. Gotta eat.
Yep. I guess that's what a lot of people do. Did you fall into that role easily, or was it kind of a struggle for you to find that role at first? Or find something to pay the bills?
I was pretty lucky. Right when I moved up, dear friends of mine had written a show, and they needed, literally, it was like Mickey and Judy putting on a show at a barn. Now it's called showcases or 29-hour readings. But back then, they raised enough money to rent out the tiny little theater on Theater Row called South Street Theater, which is now demolished. It's probably a high-rise or something. I think it is. And they had written a musical called The World's Greatest Girl Detective, based on the Nancy Drew mysteries. And I played the loving Hispanic neighbor. That's right.
Okay.
But I had a funny song. And I remember sitting backstage at the South Street Theater on the stairs. And if I had, this was the spring after I moved up, I do believe. If I had known, I thought it was just going to be their friends, maybe, and family. You know, I just moved from North Carolina. If I had known who was in that audience that night, it was so many industry people, so many agents, so many. Anyway, that night, because I had a very funny song as the Hispanic neighbor, was it Consuelo? Yeah, it was, and I sang a song called My Life Has Been No Cama de Rosas. That's right. It was very funny. And that night when I got home, before we had cell phones, children, there was a thing called, what was it called? Like an answering service. Bells are ringing. I can't remember what this was. And you would just call every day to check and see if anyone had left you a job or an opportunity. And when I got home, I had about 15 calls from agents wanting to represent me. And I really connected with this man who was an assistant at a very tiny agency, but I knew someone who knew him, so it felt safe.
Mm-hmm.
I've been with that man, Mark Redente, longer than any other man in my life. And now he is, I don't know if you've heard of the agency, Bauman, Redente, Shaw, BRS, Gage. He's the R in BRS.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a dear, dear friend.
So you've been with that for a long time.
So that worked out.
Yeah.
That worked out.
Worked out for you very well.
It did. I did that, and then I remember I went to the Muni and did a whole summer there as third ensemble member from the left, a couple of other things, and then this tour happened pretty quickly.
So your Broadway debut was in '85, and then 12 years later was actually your first original cast debut when Crazy for You.
Crazy for You.
92. And then in the meantime, you worked on Young Frankenstein in 2008.
That was right after a little show called...
Oh, sorry. No. 2008. Sorry.
You're skipping. I
I'm
like
skipping
it.
all
I'm
sorts
with
of
you.
stuff.
I'm with
No.
you, though. I'm going.
Sorry, I was looking at 85 to 92, and then 08 somehow fell in the middle. That's not right at all. So rewind it. 1985, 92. What did you do in the meantime for those 12 years?
After Crazy for You, I had a kid. And then after that, I did Crazy for You, Showboat. And then I did The Civil War. And then I did the revival of 42nd Street. That's right.
Yes.
I'm old enough to have been in one of the original companies of Broadway companies and the revival. And after that, I auditioned for Drowsy Chaperone and my world changed.
Yes. And, well, how did it change? What was different?
A, I got a job. B, I won a Tony Award for it. And that kind of changes. That shifts your roots a little bit in the acting world. Did you know when I auditioned for Drowsy Chaperone, I didn't get it?
Really?
Mm-mm. I went in and, I had my little song I was going to sing because I was even talking to Bob Martin about this, who wrote Drowsy Chaperone and The Prom, one of the writers. And they didn't really know what this role was, so they just kept kind of throwing stuff up against the wall or actors and see which one stuck. So I went in and I sang my song and I read the side, and it just wasn't what I like to call on the page. They didn't know what it was. That wasn't like you could go in and do a funny monologue.
Mm-hmm.
It was one-liners and attitude. It was hard. So I did the best I could. I got a call back. I went in, did the same thing, wore my same outfit I wore the first time, did as best I could, and about a week later, Casey Nicolau, the director, was kind enough to call me, and I could just tell when he called, and I went, I know I didn't get it. I said, I totally understand. I don't think that I'm the person to give birth to this woman, to give her a voice. Maybe, I don't know, someone older possibly, and he was thinking, yeah, we think that too. And so lo and behold, they went to Los Angeles and auditioned all these fabulous women, Eartha Kitt, Tina Louise, know who she is?
Mm-hmm.
Good. There's a line about her in The Prom. Anyway, she was Ginger on Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Joan Van Ark. I mean, that kind of ilk, those classy women. And nothing, not that they didn't give good auditions, but nothing was serving the roles that the author's intention were searching for. So they came back to New York, kept auditioning. And I honestly think they finally just gave up. Because in October, I got a call from my agent saying, you have a job offer, which we love because that means you don't have to audition. I was like, I'll take it, whatever it is. And they said, you've been offered the job of Beatrice Stockwell in the Drowsy Chaperone. And I said, no, I'm so sorry. You have that information incorrect. I didn't get that. And they went, So I made them call to make sure that was actually true. My agent called me back, Mark. He said, no, you're being offered the role of Beatrice Stockwell. You leave for a 3-month out-of-town tryout in Los Angeles. Pack your bags.
Wow.
So bam. So there you go. They trusted me to give birth to that role. And it was fun and really hard.
And then, so you got that and then came back, Tony nominated, Tony winner.
Which is so satisfying when you know that they didn't know what the role was and you all gave birth to it, these fabulous creative people and me. And I feel so proud of that. It's like our work paid off. Look what we did.
I enjoy that. Are you part of this conversation that's happening right now? I'm going to take us off on a tangent for a second.
I love tangents.
The conversation that people are trying to get the actors and the people that are in the workshops and the readings, like to be part of like profit sharing, like basically what Lynn did with Hamilton.
With Hamilton.
Are you? I guess selfishly, you're probably in support of that.
Of course,
right?
Well, yeah. No, it's a big pie. We all should get a part of it fairly. Yeah, we all, particularly a role like Drowsy and Dee Dee. My DNA is all over it. My creative process is all over them. So I'm hoping that works out.
I do too. So it's not going to happen retroactively though. Like you're not going to go back and get residuals from Drowsy Chaperone.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. No. Get a couple pennies.
That's all right. Yeah, like I do. I've done some commercials and I'll literally I got a check 2 weeks ago for 7 cents. I'm like, yes, woo, it's on me. Let's go.
All right, so back to our train of thought here. So 2008. Next thing, you worked on Young Frankenstein. I was reading that Mel Brooks made you a little nervous.
Well, sometimes I love teaching audition technique and just about life in the theater to high school kids and university kids. And I was telling the other day to a group of kids at Syracuse that please always be prepared. And this is my best example of when I wasn't. And it was for Young Frankenstein. I was out doing some summer stock gig. My agent calls and says, you have an audition to replace Andrea Martin as Frau Blucher in Young Frankenstein. And I had not seen the show. My vocal coach was not available. I had essentially 28 hours. So what's a smart actor going to do but go to the theater where it's playing and purchase the CD?
It was 08, yeah. There were CDs then, yes. Yeah.
So, because I had a very finite amount of time to cramp. So I listened to that CD. I wasn't off book. Sometimes I like to get as much of it off the page as I can and go and memorize, but I just didn't have time. And I thought, well, this is just an initial audition. It's just going to be Susan Stroman, who I have such a huge amount of respect for. And she knows that I'm maybe didn't have enough time to prepare. So I still am listening to the CD. Note to self, the actual, what they play on the piano, the accompanist does not play what's on the CD usually.
Right.
So that's always thrilling.
Yes.
So I was really going in so unprepared. So I walked in the door thinking it was going to be 3 or 4 people. There was a table of 25 people behind this table to hear me audition. Susan Stroman, all the creatives, the musical director, and on the other side was Mel Brooks and a bunch of people I didn't know in suits. I was, damn. So now I try to do the best I can. I finish what I think is singing the song that I have listened to on the CD. And he says something to me that I so deserved in the kindest way. He went, I know you're better than that. Because I saw you do Drowsy Chaperone. And he stood up and he came over to me. And I just wanted to fall on the floor apologizing to the entire room for wasting their time. He said, essentially, give me one more chance. So I went home and I almost came in costume, off book, prepared with makeup for my next audition, making really strong choices. And I walked in, of course, he wasn't there. I just wanted to prove to him that I wasn't a failure. And I got it.
How long was it between the first and the second audition?
Not that long, maybe a week, but I was.
Oh, that's a good time.
That was enough for me to really be a better actor. And I was so prepared. Susan Stroman asked me to read for Frau Blucher and the other role, the Megan Mullally role. I can't think of the name of that role. Anyway, sorry, I'm old. Hard drive's full. So literally, I came in, memorized all the sides, had a costume change that was funny. Do you know what chicken cutlets are when you want your breast bigger? I had those for Megan Mullally's role, and then when I went immediately into Frau Blucher, I threw them across the room. I thought it was rather funny. But, and then the next day, I got the offer to, they offered me Frau Blucher.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, you got a Drama Desk Award for that, for Beatrice Stockwell and Drowsy Chaperone, as well as a Tony. But then, so you came in 2009 then, came into Mamma Mia, replacing Carolee Carmello. Do you have a preference of originating a role versus coming in and replacing somebody like Carolee?
Oh, yes, I do. I sure do. There is nothing like originating a role. There's just nothing like it. Because it's written for you. It's written for your comedy. It's written for your high notes. It's written for your low notes. It's written for all the things that make you good. So to have that privilege in Dee Dee Allen and in Drowsy Chaperone, it's really great to originate a role. Plus, you get to do the cast album and everything else, and you don't ever have to hear, oh, well, when so-and-so did it, why don't you do it like that? Oh, when so-and-so did it, when so-and-so did it, So it's an ownership and it's really a rare and special privilege to originate a role on Broadway or anywhere, but especially on Broadway.
When you do go in to replace somebody, do you come in and try to emulate what they were doing, or do you kind of bring yourself into it? It
depends on what the creatives want. I hope I don't have to imitate because I'm a terrible imitator and I think it's not very truthful or authentic of you as an artist. And the Mamma Mia people were so good about that. They gave me, it must have been a month's worth of rehearsrsal.
That's a lot.
No one does that.
That's a lot for
no one
a
does
replacement,
that.
yeah.
They also said to me, we would go into a studio and they had the faux set up and props, which is also unusual. And they said, just kind of organically do what you want to do. I'm like, what? And then, what? That never happens. And I was so grateful. Eventually we got, because there was I don't want to, screw anybody else up that's been doing the show. So they just gave me really soft boundaries and they let me be Beth as Donna within the constraints of, ABBA and the book and the music. The only thing they didn't do at Mamma Mia, which was fascinating, I think the ABBA, the group, Benny and Bjorn, wanted, when the music was sung, they wanted it to sound exactly like the recordings that everyone knew and loved, which meant having to learn when to straight tone and when to have vibrato. So that was a lot of class. The winner takes it, no vibrato, oh, hold on, now vibrato. It was really interesting. But they let me really claim my own Donna. Other shows, when you replace, it's very strict. I never replaced in chorus line because I can't dance, but I heard that was really strict because everything depended on everything being so specific for people. That's just the storytelling.
This character you've created for the Prom is very much you.
Yeah, I know, my evil twin.
Have you, Dee Dee Allen, have you talked with anybody who's had to replace you in other shows and they're like, why did you do this? Yes. I can't do this.
It's like, why did you hold that note so long? Like, sorry. But you don't have to, Yeah, right. No, I haven't. No, I haven't talked to anybody that's had to do that. I'm hoping that they bring their own fabulousness into whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited, yet feel sorry for whoever has to go in next as Dee Dee Allen, because those are some big shoes that are going to have to be filled there.
Thank you. Shameless laughs.
Oh, it's wonderful, though.
I know. No, I love it. I love her. I love her.
It seems like Dee Dee can do whatever she wants.
Kind of, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or she feels she can do whatever she wants.
She doesn't have that moral compass that I feel I have a huge one, but so it's so freeing to play someone that puts herself in front before anyone else.
To be so selfish.
To be so selfish that
And
one of my
that.
lines is, I'm so sorry, but I've never said this before to someone, but tell me about you. I mean, she really doesn't ask that question.
Right.
Love that.
Yeah.
Who gets to say stuff like that?
Did you have a lot of input into the creative process when the show was being developed?
Yes. Yep. But my input wasn't like, oh, let's write a new line. My input was I would do the comedy, and if it didn't work, they would rewrite it until it worked. And it would be up to me to make it work.
Really?
Yeah. And if it didn't work, Bob, Martin, and Chad would go, well, it's not funny if Beth can't make it funny.
That's a lot of trust.
That's a lot of trust. Idiots. But, and together we're just, so, we understand each other so much in that room that it made creating and discovering and making mistakes and being successful, it made it easy. It was hard, but it was easy because the work and the craft is so good and the story is so good. So they just kept polishing it, and that was our job in front of our scene partner, the audience.
Yeah.
And of course, ultimately, they tell us what works.
Right. And then Casey, I mean, you've worked with Casey for a long time.
It's Crazy for You.
Yeah.
You know, he was in the ensemble at Crazy for You.
No kidding.
Yeah. We were doing a show in North Carolina at North Carolina Theater. We were doing Showboat a long time ago when he was in the ensemble. And my agent, Mark, had sent me the script to Crazy for You. And I was reading it, and I looked at him. I said, have you read this? This would be great for you. You should audition for it. So I actually feel responsible for the success of his career.
All right. Well, then maybe you get pennies every time he gets paid.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Casey. Casey was my director at NCT. For My Fair Lady, I was in the ensemble.
Really?
Eliza Shadow? Elena Shadow.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was our Eliza. She's wonderful.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, small world, North Carolina world, man. It all comes back.
Love that.
It all comes back.
Govna.
In 2014, the workshops for Something Rotten.
Oh, right.
Yes, can we talk about that?
Yes, yeah. That, there are no regrets. I wasn't asked to continue to the Broadway show because I just literally was too old.
Really?
Yeah. That's okay. Because the character was supposed to get pregnant and have a baby, and I'm like, oh, come on. So they were very kind and supportive, and I felt like I gave a lot to the show. And if I had done Something Rotten, I wouldn't have been able to do something else, and I can't remember what it was. So, I'm a big kumbaya that if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't, and something else did. So that's okay.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Do you still have to audition a lot? Like, what does Tony Winner kind of peel back a layer of having to audition
Yes.
all the time?
All the time. I mean, not all the time. There are times when I have to audition, particularly if it's someone from London or something, or a director I don't know. I really would like to audition because I don't want him to feel like he has to hire me because I won a Tony Award. I really want to earn that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I would like to see what it's like being in the room with them, him or her. But I don't have to audition as much as I used to before the Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's not
I would
bad.
expect that. And then for someone who has done as many shows as you have, 13 shows, which is incredible, I feel like you have a reputation as well that kind of precedes.
That helps.
Like,
Even
yeah,
if I hadn't won a Tony Award, I
Yeah.
think just consistency and professional and I love what I do.
and kind of being just a nice person in general, somebody that people want to work with.
That always helps.
Yeah. And you've worked in LA and San Diego. Do you have a preference, I guess? Would you live out there if you could, or is it New York your home?
It's New York's my home.
Yeah.
New York, Broadway. That's my ideal life is 8 shows a week, being happy. I'm engaged and just being here. My kids are here. I'm happy here.
Yeah.
It's what I know.
How long have you been in New York then?
Like 30-some years? I can't do the math. I don't do math.
When did you say you moved up? It was
like 82.
82,
or whichever. I can't remember if it's 81 or 82.
Yeah, so that's...
You use your fingers and count. 16 years? 16 years. We're in 2018 now, yeah. Yeah. 26 years. No, longer than that. Yeah, longer than that. Think about it. 2018 minus 1982 equals
36.
Thank
36.
you.
Yes.
You know when you
Sorry.
cross over, I've been here longer than you've ever been anywhere else. Yeah, I did that.
I guess I would. Yeah, I've been here longer than anywhere else too. 11 years.
See?
Ish, maybe. North Carolina. I moved multiple places in North Carolina. So if you want to have North Carolina as a whole, then I haven't been here longer.
Nope, that didn't count.
Okay,
All right.
Doesn't count.
I loved LA and San Diego. It's beautiful, but besides Broadway, I like the snow. I like the weather.
Here?
Yes.
The snow gets all nasty.
It does, but I think that's from being from North Carolina because when it snowed, everything stopped.
Oh, no one knows how to
like
function.
Exactly. So you didn't go to school. You had soup.
The threat of snow. They're like, we're
Everything
canceling
stops.
school for a week.
So snow, I just still have this place in my heart. Joy. It's like see snow. It's like, yes. And then you have to get on the train and go through the muddy slush. But initially, it's joyous.
Until you step in that
Yes,
6-inch
that.
puddle on the corner of a clogged storm drain. Yes. In the Prom, Dee Dee Allen. Brooks is one funny dude.
Oh my God, you should try to rehearse with him, much less be on stage with him. He's the funniest man I think I've ever met in my life.
I was going to ask about that.
Oh,
Do you guys make each other crack on stage?
No, we don't.
Really?
No, we can't cross that line. You know what I mean? Or else the show would go to. So we respect the show so much, but some days it's really, really, really hard because Brooks is, and I mean this in the ultimate compliment. He's dangerous on stage. He's dangerous because if he goes up or off, it's so funny. And to try to stay in Dee Dee land, some days is really, really, really hard. But so far, we've been successful. Watch Done Idol be like, and turn around and your shoulders are going up and down. But he is truly, truly funny. He and Chris, just a funny group of people. Angie, just funny, funny people. Ugh. Makes coming to work really fun.
Yeah. It's 8 shows a week is a lot.
It's a lot. People have no idea.
And your songs, they're written for
hard.
you. They're hard. Yeah.
They're really hard.
Like you're belting your ass off.
I'm belting my ass off, but thank God I have vocal technique.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt my... No. So far, so good.
Have you gotten sick at all yet?
Oh, you didn't hear about my... Were you there? Oh, gosh. Sorry. Talking to people in the room. Yes, my... the third opening night Thursday, Friday, there was just a lot of activity. Saturday matinee, I woke up and went, oh my gosh, I don't feel well. But you'll get over it. And then I threw up. This is so glamorous. I thought, nope, I can do it. Oh, you can get through it. Just get through it. Just get through it. Maybe you're on the other side of it. Maybe you're on this other side of it. And God bless my understudy. She'd never had a rehearsal. So I got to the theater, got everything I could think of to make me feel better. Got my wig on, my mic on, my dress, went down at places. And I looked at Brooks and he went, how are you feeling? And I went, not very good. And I looked at him and said, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. And I ran into the wings and projectile.
Oh!
Most of it went into a trash can. It's so glamorous. And I was out 3 shows. I was so sick. I felt so bad for my understudy she was a superstar, Kate Marilli. Superstar. Ugh, so proud of her.
She went in with no rehearsal
Pretty
and like
much.
30 seconds notice.
They had to hold the curtain. Brooks and Chris went out and made a little speech about what had happened. Felt great. I cried all the way in the car back to the apartment. I had people there that day. Yes, that was a great day. So I have been out. I can't believe it. I'm never out.
Did you cry? You really cried on the way back?
Absolutely.
So let me ask about that, because you're a very jovial person and you're very fun to talk to. But like when you go home and you're not on,
Right. I sob myself to no, I don't.
do you cry your sleep? Do you cry yourself to sleep every night? No, like what is the you that nobody sees?
I'm much quieter when I'm at home. I don't talk as much, or you guys, it's so stimulating being here. It brings out my outer inner ham. But when I'm at home, I'm a lot quieter. And on Mondays, I don't say anything pretty much at all.
Yeah.
I'm much more of an introvert than people think I am.
I would not be surprised. I'm not surprised at that. I think a lot of the very successful people, especially after seeing something like Share Show, where the whole story almost is about explaining to the audience that like she's really a quiet person and shy, and like her have you seen it yet? Oh my
Same
goodness.
schedule.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah. The next time you projectile vomit, see if you can then
There you go. I can do a show, make it a half full approach as opposed to
Yes.
a winning situation.
No, the whole thing is a lot of it is reminding the audience that she's a very shy person.
Interesting.
And she and her mother always told her, act like you know what you're doing. And she became the person that we see publicly, but it's not it. And I feel even through these interviews that we're doing now that a lot of people, like, they struggled with mental health. They've worried about going from job to job and having anxiety about where the paychecks are going to come from or if they're even good enough. And like,
Oh, everyone does that. I mean, I don't know any that's not true. Most actors I know suffer from some kind of insecurity and always are wondering where the next paycheck is coming from. And am I good enough? That little voice going, oh, if I hit a wrong note, it's like, oh no, oh, I'm awful, oh, I disappointed, oh no. Yeah. Welcome to our world.
Well, it's so interesting to me because, and we were talking about this earlier, it's like grass is always greener. But on the outside, we're watching, people, we come to the audience, we watch everybody on stage, and it's like, that's Beth Leavel, Tony Award-winning Beth Leavel. Like, she can do no wrong. And it's the same kind of thing, like if you go see a comedian, and they say something, you're like, I'm going to laugh at that because I'm predisposed to think they're funny.
Right.
Whereas somebody else who is not funny says the exact same thing, you're like, get out of here. Where if there was a misstep or a misnote, it would just be part of the fun. Because,
Really? Oh,
yeah.
that makes me feel better.
Yeah. No, I don't think, like, yeah, let me help take the pressure
Thanks.
off of you.
Thank you.
Yes. So you can go out tonight and have fun.
Now, believe me, I find joy, or I couldn't do it.
Right.
Oh, I have to find joy in it, or literally, I'd have to retire.
Have you had a moment where you've like kind of struggled to find the next step?
Not the next step. I've had moments where I've struggled to find the next job. Just like I remember after I had my kids, getting back into that world, and there was a time before the revival of 42nd Street where I was like, maybe I should teach or do something. Not because I didn't have the passion or wanted to do it, the work wasn't coming.
Mm-hmm.
The work wasn't coming. And then after 42nd Street, then Drowsy happened, and that kind of paid the bills for a while.
Yeah. I guess more emotionally or mentally, have you been in a moment where you're like, this is just too much? Like the anxiety, I kind of, what you were saying a second ago about, am I good enough? Am I going to hit the right note? Am I going to hit my mark? That all sounds like anxiety to me.
It is anxiety, of course. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I refuse to let it win. I refuse to let it take my joy. I refuse. So you go through your moment, you get to the other side, snap out of it.
Yep.
And you some days are easier than others, but most days, I love what I do. And no matter what, I'm going to keep doing it because it brings me joy.
You can't ask for anything better than that.
Until people start booing me. Ooh, get off.
You're not singing high enough. Do you go out to the stage door and greet people afterwards?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, particularly with Prom. I mean, there's the young kids out there, the show has touched them in such a way that I just like to hear what they have to say.
What have they said?
Thank you. I see myself on stage. Thank you for making me laugh like I haven't laughed in forever. It's like a compilation of loving the show, loving Dee Dee, and seeing a LGBTQ character on stage fall in love and kiss.
Yeah, well, so you guys, you made history. The show made history on
Apparently we did.
Yeah, with the Macy's Day Parade. You did the same-sex kiss on national TV, which, why is that history? Like, why is it, why did it take so long?
Exactly. Yeah. We didn't even think about it. And we didn't, yeah, that's what happens. It's a love story. And then some people went, was that going to happen on Macy's? I'm like, yeah, sure. And it did. And look, we're still here and people loved it and are coming to see the show. Was there ever any conversation, maybe it didn't even make it to you, I guess maybe with the producers, they're like, should we cut that? Should we do that? Or did they? If there was, we didn't hear about it. Yeah. And we never thought we were not doing that. Again, that's just the end of our number. It was like, that's how the show ends. It's not like, ooh, are they or aren't they? Like you said. Yeah. Love is love. That's how the story ends.
It's beautiful. And I love it. I love part of it. Part of why I love the Prom is because it's there's so many things going on. There's multiple stories that all converge at the end. But like the love story, it's a story because the mom makes it a story because she's homophobic. But the girls themselves they're just two people in love. They're not like acting like lesbians, right? No. I put in air quotes, right? Yeah. Like, what is it? It's just two people who want to be in a relationship. And that's what I find really, really kind of, I think, eye-opening for a lot of people. They're like, oh, that's just a normal relationship like I want to have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love this song, I Just Want to Dance With You. I don't want to make a riot. I don't want to do anything. I just want to dance with you. Mm-hmm. I love that.
At the parade, though, I had sympathy for you guys in 19-degree weather.
To me, what made history in that parade is that it was the coldest Macy's Day Parade weather ever. When we got there for camera rehearsal, it was 5 degrees.
Oh, goodness.
I know. It was 5 degrees. That was
awesome. Your costumes are not
very
thick.
No, they are not. You probably wouldn't notice in that tiny little gold flashy suit, I had long johns on underneath them.
I didn't notice, no.
That'll keep me warm. And some kind of Under Armour teeny tiny t-shirt. I'm good. Woo, I'm toasty.
Yeah.
No, they did everything they could to keep us warm, but it was really cold.
Oh, yeah. No.
My nose is still a little like peeling. I think I got a little bit of frostbite. Oof. We did it. So that was a historical day in so many ways.
And you're singing live, right? Or you're singing the tracks? No,
tracks. No? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
I don't think I saw a picture of me singing. We're dancing and stuff, and it's just like the cold air coming out of my. What do you call that? My breath is
the frost mist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You couldn't even see my face.
Yeah. No, it was actually wonderful. I was trying to. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm trying to get them to watch all this, and they're like, "What is this? Are these commercials? I don't like commercials." They're very cute.
They are cute.
How old are your kids?
28 and 23.
Do they know what commercials are?
Probably not.
Not anymore.
Oh yeah, they do, but you can skip it now. You know?
Just bloop, bloop. I remember the TiVo. I love that TiVo noise.
Oh, right.
Cool. So let us wrap this up here. I've got 3 standard questions that I ask everybody on the podcast. Number 1, generally, what motivates you?
My paycheck. I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding. I know. No, you know what? This sounds so cheesy, but like I was saying, I love what I do. And very few of us get to originate a Broadway show or work on Broadway or do our craft in general and get paid for it. That motivates me.
What advice would you give to your younger self or younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
I would tell you that you are singular. That no one is like you. And that's the gift that you have to offer. So discover your singularity as an artist. Practice your craft. If you're curious and passionate about it, go for it. Just go for it because you are singular. So don't imitate. Don't expect to be someone else because then you wouldn't be you. And that's who you are as an artist. You discover that.
Nice. And then last question, if you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want.
Wow.
What would you see?
Besides Prom?
Yes.
There's so many. I can just choose one.
Yes.
Gypsy.
Oh, with Patty?
I don't care. They can have a revolving, That'd be awesome.
Have you seen Prom? Have you seen a video? Like,
No.
did they record it yet?
No, I just see B-roll, the little
Yeah.
clips.
Oh, so
I don't know if I can watch it yet. I don't like to watch myself. I'm so critical.
Oh, well, don't be.
Oh, well.
You're phenomenal. That's
Bless you.
why
Thank
you
you.
got the role.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So on Instagram, you're just at Beth Leavel, Leavel.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's all you got.
I know. It's sad. I don't do social media.
You don't have to.
No, I don't. I do 8 shows a week. That's what I do.
You can get more of me and the Theater Podcast at theater_podcast on Instagram and Twitter, thetheaterpodcast.com, facebook.com/official theater podcast. Of course, big thank you, as always, to our friends Jukebox the Ghost for this lovely music you hear right now. Please subscribe, share this podcast, tell your friends. Go on your app right now, rate us, give a positive review,
Woohoo!
all of that fancy stuff that helps us keep going.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Social media. Thank you, Beth
You're
Leavel.
welcome. What a great interview. Thank you.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.